The lawyer's hand trembled as he unfolded the final page. I still remember the way the paper crinkled, the silence so thick I could hear my own heartbeat. My half-brother Jason leaned forward, his expensive cologne filling the space between us. My half-sister Claire smoothed her skirt, already composing her gracious acceptance face. And then Mr. Calloway read the words that shattered everything. The entirety of the trust account, totaling $120,000. I leave to my daughter, Maya Elena Torres. For 3 seconds, no one breathed. Then Claire's laugh sharp, incredulous cut through the room. You're joking. Jason's fist hit the mahogany table so hard the water glasses shook. But I couldn't look away from Mr. Calloway. His face had gone pale. Then a slow flush crept up his neck. His eyes, which I'd known since childhood as gentle and steady, flickered with something raw. It wasn't shock at their outburst. It was relief. Relief mixed with a secret so heavy I could see it carved into the lines around his mouth. I didn't know it then. But that look was the first crack in a wall of lies my family had built around me for 25 years. My name is Maya, and I grew up in a house where I was the other child. My father died in a construction accident when I was 3, leaving my mother Elena alone with me and a mountain of grief. When I was 5, she married Robert, a man with a steady job and 2 kids from his previous marriage, Jason and Claire. They became the golden duo. I became the black sheep. Robert never hit me, but his words landed harder than any fist. Maya, why can't you be more like your brother? Look at his report card. Look at your scribbles. He'd point at my drawings, the ones I spent hours on, and call them a waste of time. My mother would stay silent, sometimes adding a tired, "He's right, sweetie. You need to focus." I'd nod, swallowing the lump in my throat. But I remember one evening after a particularly humiliating dinner, Robert had actually held one of my sketches up to the light, a drawing of a horse I'd worked on for 3 days, and laughed in front of everyone. "What is this, Maya? A deformed dog?" Claire giggled. Jason snorted. I ran to my room and cried until my chest ached, the sound muffled by my pillow so no one would hear. Hours later, when the house was quiet, I crept to my closet to grab a sweater and my foot knocked against something. A brand new set of watercolor paints. The expensive kind with little tubes of Prussian blue and burnt sienna. The ones I'd circled in the art supply catalog a month earlier. No note, no explanation. I held them in my hands, tracing the gold lettering on the box, feeling a confusing rush of hope and guilt. Who put this here? I ran my fingers over the smooth tubes, imagining someone who knew I loved to paint. I used them until the colors ran dry, painting late into the night under my blanket with a flashlight, never daring to ask where they came from. I know now, but back then I just felt like I'd stolen something precious. By high school, the label stuck. Jason got a car at 16. Claire got a new laptop. I got a secondhand backpack and a reminder that money was tight. When I dropped out of community college after my first year, I wanted to pursue art. But the pressure and the constant criticism had worn me down. The family narrative hardened into stone. I was the lazy one, the dreamer, the one who'd never make anything of herself. At every holiday, Robert would raise a glass and toast to Jason's promotion or Claire's engagement. Then he'd glance at me and say, "And Maya's still finding herself." The table would laugh. I'd force a smile and push my mashed potatoes around my plate. My mother would give me a look I couldn't decipher. Pity? Embarrassment? One Thanksgiving, after Robert had gone to bed, she found me in the kitchen. I was hunched over the counter, tears streaking my face, the echoes of his mockery still ringing in my ears. She walked up behind me so quietly I didn't hear her until her hand rested on my shoulder. She cupped my chin, tilted my face toward hers, and whispered, "You're stronger than they think." Her thumb brushed a tear from my cheek, and for just a moment her eyes glistened with something unsaid. Then she let go, turned, and walked away. I stood there, the cold kitchen tile numbing my feet, wondering if I'd imagined the whole thing. I wanted to call out to her, to ask what she meant, but my voice was frozen. So I just whispered into the dark, "What does that mean, Mom?" I buried myself in books, in painting, in the quiet corners of my life. I moved out at 20 into a cramped studio apartment, took a job at a used bookstore, and learned to live on very little. Robert died of a heart attack when I was 24. I cried at his funeral. Not for him, but for the father I'd never really had. After that, my mother seemed to soften, but the old patterns remained. Jason and Claire visited only when they needed something, a signature on a loan, a check for a wedding expense. They'd breeze in, kiss Mom's cheek, and leave behind a cloud of obligation. Then came the diagnosis. Stage 3 ovarian cancer. The news hit our family like a wrecking ball, but the response was telling. Jason said he was too swamped with a big case. Claire had a destination wedding to plan. I looked at my mother, fragile and afraid, and knew I couldn't walk away. I quit my bookstore job, though my boss let me work a few weekend shifts, and moved back into my childhood bedroom, the same room where I'd once cried myself to sleep. The first night back, I sat on that narrow bed and stared at the watercolor stains still faint on the floorboards, purple and blue ghosts from a decade ago. And something tight in my chest began to loosen. For 14 months, I was her caregiver. I drove her to chemotherapy, held her hair back when she got sick, and read her old letters from my father that she kept in a shoebox under her bed. Those letters were my hidden education. My father wrote to her about his dreams for me, how he wanted to teach me to draw, how he'd already bought a tiny easel that he hid in the garage. I'd read them aloud and watch my mother's face soften, her hand resting on my arm, her thumb tracing small circles as if memorizing the moment. Sometimes she'd get confused from the medication and call me by his name. Daniel. She'd murmur, "You came back." I never corrected her. In those moments, her eyes would hold a tenderness I'd never seen directed at me before. I'd squeeze her hand and pretend, just for a few minutes, that I was him. It hurt, but it also felt like a gift, like I was getting to meet the father I'd lost, through the only person who still remembered the sound of his laugh. And yet, in front of others, she reverted. When neighbors visited, she'd say, "Oh, Maya's between jobs, so she's helping out. She's always been a bit lost." I'd bite my lip and hand her a glass of water. One afternoon, after a particularly rough chemo session that had left her skin gray and her voice a rasp, she grabbed my wrist with surprising strength. "Maya, promise me you'll find your own path, no matter what anyone says." Her eyes bored into mine, fierce and desperate. "There are things you don't understand yet, but you will. You have to trust yourself." I felt her nails dig into my skin, her whole body trembling with an urgency I couldn't comprehend. "Mom, what things?" I asked, my voice cracking. She just shook her head. "Promise me." I promised, though my voice shook, and I carried that unanswered question for months. She passed on a Tuesday, with only me by her side. Claire was in Barbados on her honeymoon. Jason was in court. I held her hand until it went cold, then called them both. They arrived in time for the funeral, dressed in black and weeping for everyone to see. I stood apart, hollow, watching them perform grief like a part they'd rehearsed. Which brings me back to that conference room. After Jason's outburst, he and Claire turned their fury on me. "You poisoned her against us," Claire spat, her perfectly glossed lips twisting. "You lived there, you whispered lies." She was vulnerable. Jason added, "This is fraudulent. We'll contest it." Their words were like acid on my skin. I tried to speak, to say I had no idea, but my voice came out in a croak. "Mr. Calloway raised a hand and said calmly, "The will was drafted 18 months ago, with your mother's full mental capacity. It's legally sound." That only made them angrier. They stormed out, vowing to sue. Claire paused at the door and looked back at me. Her eyes narrowed. "You always were the snake in the grass," she hissed. The door slammed, and I was left alone with the lawyer and the echo of her hatred. I stayed in my chair, the coffee mug still shaking in my grip. Mr. Calloway walked around the table and sat next to me. "Maya," he said quietly, "are you all right?" I shook my head. "Why would she do this? They're right. I'm nobody. I don't deserve it." He put his hand over mine, and I felt the papery warmth of his skin. "There's something you need to know. Can you come back tomorrow, alone? Your mother left something for you. Only you." I searched his face, and again I saw that strange relief, like a man who'd been holding a heavy box and could finally set it down. I went home and called my neighbor Alice, the one person outside my family who believed in me. I told her everything, my voice breaking. She listened without judgment, then said softly, "Go. Whatever it is. You deserve the truth. That woman never stopped loving you, even if she had a terrible way of showing it." I started to protest, to list every wound, but she cut me off. "Maya, I saw the way she looked at you when no one was watching. At the grocery store once, you were picking out apples, and she just stood there, smiling. When I waved, she put her finger to her lips like it was a secret. That wasn't a woman who didn't care." I clung to those words. The next morning, I returned to the office. This time, Mr. Calloway led me not to the conference room, but to his private study, a smaller room filled with books and a worn leather chair. He invited me to sit, then retrieved a manila envelope from his safe. It was thick and sealed with red wax. My name written on the front in my mother's shaky script, the same script I'd seen on her grocery lists. I ran my finger over the wax seal, feeling the ridges of her fingerprint. It felt like holding her hand again. "Before you open that," he said, settling into the chair across from me, "I need to explain a few things about your mother and about your father." He removed his glasses and polished them with a cloth, his movements slow and deliberate. I knew Daniel. We were best friends since grade school. He was the best man at my wedding. When he died, I made a promise to look after you and Elena. That promise has been the single hardest thing I've ever done. I stared at him, my throat tight. He looked down at his hands, then back at me, his eyes glistening. "I've carried this secret for 25 years. I've watched you grow up believing you were worthless, and I couldn't say a word. Your mother made me swear." It nearly broke me. He paused and swallowed hard. "Do you know what your father said to me the night before his accident?" He said, "If anything ever happens to me, make sure my little girl knows she can fly." I've been waiting to deliver that message for a quarter of a century. I felt a sob building in my chest, but I forced myself to stay quiet as he continued. "Your father took out a life insurance policy when you were born," he said. $50,000. It wasn't a fortune, but it was everything he had. He wanted you to have a future. After the accident, your mother came to me, grieving and terrified. She didn't know how to protect that money. Then, she met Robert. He was charming at first, but he had a mean streak and a nose for finances. She was afraid, and rightfully so, that if he ever discovered the policy, he'd find a way to seize it. So she made a choice. A terrible, brilliant choice. He paused, and I saw his hands tremble. "She became the mother who called you worthless. She played the part so well that even you believed it. Every time she criticized you in front of Robert, she was hiding you in plain sight. She convinced him you'd never amount to anything, so he'd never think to dig into your affairs. And she asked me to manage the account secretly, to let it grow. Over 25 years, through careful investments, that 50,000 became what it is today." My mind was reeling, and I felt a sob building in my chest. "But, after Robert died, why didn't she just tell me?" "She was going to," he said, his voice cracking. "She planned to after the funeral. But then she saw how Jason and Claire reacted. They started circling, asking about inheritance, pressuring her to update the will. They made it clear they believed they were entitled to everything. Your mother realized that if she revealed the trust, they'd hound you for the rest of your life. She decided to keep the secret and structure the will so that the trust passed directly to you, outside of probate. The rest of the estate, the house, the savings would go to them. She hoped that would satisfy them enough to not dig deeper. And she wanted them to hear those words in that room, to see that the daughter they'd dismissed was the one who mattered." I was crying now, the tears hot and silent. He slid the envelope toward me. "She wrote this the week before she passed. I helped her. She wanted you to know everything." I broke the seal. Inside were 2 items, a photograph and a letter. The photograph showed a young man with tousled dark hair and a crooked smile, holding a baby in a yellow blanket. On the back was written, "Daniel and Maya, June 1998. My father's face. I traced his smile with my fingertip, seeing my own eyes reflected back at me. I whispered, "Hi, Dad," and the word felt like opening a door. Then I unfolded the letter. The paper smelled faintly of the lavender lotion my mother always used. Her handwriting was uneven, but every word was clear. "My darling Maya, if you're reading this, then I've managed to keep my promise to your father. I hope you can forgive me for the years of silence. This letter is the hardest thing I've ever written. I want you to know that every time I called you a dreamer or said you had no direction, I was lying. Every time I let Robert mock your art, I died a little inside. You were the brightest part of my world, and I forced myself to dim your light so that you'd be safe. It was the only way I knew to protect what your father left for you. The money is yours. It always was. Use it to paint, to travel, to build a life that makes your heart full. Don't let anyone make you feel small again. The world has enough people who will try to shrink you. Don't do their work for them. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I hope you can understand. You were my greatest treasure, and I spent a lifetime hiding you in a vault of lies to keep you from being stolen. I love you, Maya. I love you more than I ever let myself show. Forever." Mom, I must have read that letter a dozen times, the words blurring and sharpening through my tears. Each reading peeled back another layer of pain. I remembered the watercolor paints, her whispered words in the kitchen, the desperate grip on my wrist, the way she'd look at me when she called me Daniel. All those scattered moments suddenly locked into place like the tumblers of a safe. I saw my whole childhood in a new light. Every cruel word was a shield, every silence a sacrifice. The love I'd craved had been there all along, hidden beneath a performance so convincing that even I believed it. Mr. Calloway handed me a handkerchief, and I laughed a wet, broken laugh because it was the kind of thing my father might have done. "She called me her greatest treasure," I whispered. He nodded, tears tracing the lines of his own face. "She said that to me too. The day she signed the trust. She never wavered. Not once." I left his office in a daze, the envelope clutched to my chest. Instead of going home, I drove to the cemetery where Mom was buried. The grass was still fresh on her grave. I sat there for an hour, reading the letter aloud, feeling the wind on my face. I told her I understood, and I forgave her. "You did it, Mom," I said to the gravestone. "You kept your promise. Now I'll keep mine." I think a part of me even thanked her for the years of hard words, because they'd shaped me into someone who knew how to stand alone. I realized that the worth I'd spent my life chasing hadn't been stolen, it had been held in trust, waiting for me to claim it. That secret watercolor set, the midnight whispers, the way she held my wrist, they all finally made sense. I wasn't worthless. I never had been. Over the following weeks, Jason and Claire did try to contest the will. They hired a lawyer, made noise, but the trust was airtight. Mr. Calloway's documentation was flawless. Eventually, they gave up. I received a single text from Jason that read, "You got lucky." I didn't reply. I didn't need to. I used a portion of the money to rent a small studio space with big windows that let in the morning light. I bought canvases, oils, and brushes that didn't shed. For the first time in my life, I woke up and painted without guilt. I hung my father's photograph and my mother's letter on the wall, side by side. Some days I stand there and just breathe. The look on Mr. Calloway's face that day, the relief, the buried emotion, was the signal that everything I'd believed about myself was a story written by someone else. And I finally had the pen. If this story resonated with you, please take a moment to like this video. It helps Tranquil Drama Stories continue sharing these real, raw experiences. And if you haven't subscribed yet, join us, because my family had more secrets than I could ever imagine. And I think you'll want to hear the next one.